Miami's the kind of city that feels alive even when you're dead inside. It was a Friday evening. The sky was doing that burnt orange thing it does when the humidity hangs low and the skyline looks like it's exhaling. I was at a rooftop corporate reception for Harper's firm, some PR and venture capital crossover thing where everyone smells like fig cologne and says words like vertical integration and synergy without flinching. Not my scene, but I went for her. We had fought that morning. Not our first argument, but something about this one felt sharper, more final. I told her point blank, if you wear that dress, the one that barely qualifies as a dress, to impress these people you barely even like, I'll take that as a sign, as the sign. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, I'm not dressing for them, Ethan. I'm dressing for me. Right? Because strapless sequins and 6-inch heels are all about empowerment when you're sipping cocktails with your boss. I didn't push further. I just told her, then I guess we're both dressing for ourselves tonight. She rolled her eyes, said I was being insecure. That's been the pattern lately. Every concern I raise becomes an accusation. Every boundary I set is controlling. Somehow, I'm the villain for noticing she's not who she used to be. Anyway, that's the headspace I was in when it happened. We were mingling near the rooftop bar. She just drifted off to laugh at something her boss Cole said. Too loudly, if you ask me. And I was standing there with a sweating glass of soda water, half listening to some guy explain crypto like he invented it. That's when I saw it. Her bag had tipped off the back of her chair. A few things spilled out. Lip gloss, a charger cable, and one folded piece of hotel stationery, white with an embossed navy header. I wouldn't have noticed if the wind hadn't blown it closer to my feet. I picked it up and froze. The Clearwater Grand. Suite 18B. 2 guests. 3 nights. Check-in, August 11th. Check-out, August 14th. I blinked. August 11th was last weekend. Last weekend when she told me she was in Key Largo for a company retreat. She even sent me beach pictures. A blurry group photo with name tags. A photo of someone paddle boarding. She said the Wi-Fi was bad, called me once, maybe twice. Sounded rushed. The Clearwater Grand is not in Key Largo. It's in downtown Miami. Not even an hour away from our house. She said the whole retreat was off-grid. No clients, just internal team building. That's not what this receipt said. The line that hit me hardest was, 2 guests. King Waterfront Suite. I just stood there, staring at it, feeling like my stomach had dropped through the concrete. My heart was thudding, not racing exactly, just loud, like it was trying to tell me something my brain wasn't ready to admit. She came back a second later, laughing, a drink in her hand. She froze when she saw what I was holding. I handed it to her. She didn't even glance at it. Oh, she said, with this perfectly casual shrug. That must be a mistake. That's not mine. Not hers? She snatched it back and dropped it in her bag like it was trash. I didn't move, just stood there, watching her face for any trace of guilt. Must have gotten mixed in with someone else's paperwork, she added, brushing her hair off her shoulder. Honestly, I don't even know how that got in there. Weird. I said nothing. I was trying to remember if I'd ever seen her lie to someone before. Not a white lie, not a harmless fib. A real lie, and here it was. Smooth, effortless, like she'd done it before. She leaned in and changed the subject. Started talking about how Cole's wife just launched a line of non-alcoholic aperitifs. We should get some, she said, like we were still a we. You'd love them. They're 0 sugar. I nodded. I think I even smiled. But inside, everything shifted. See, there are moments in a marriage where you feel something tilt, like a small crack appearing in a load-bearing wall. This was different. This was the sound of something snapping clean in two. I played it cool the rest of the night. I didn't want to make a scene. Not in front of her coworkers. Not while the band was playing and the mojitos were flowing. But I kept replaying that receipt in my head. Suite 18B. 2 guests. 3 nights. And that timing? It lined up way too perfectly with the retreat. Like she wanted to be unreachable, but not because she was off the grid. Because she was down the street with someone else. Her boss Cole? Probably. She laughed too hard at his jokes. She touched his arm when she talked, and he looked at her like she was something expensive he already owned. I kept watching them from the corner of my eye the whole night. She moved like a woman untethered. Not the Harper I met 5 years ago, the one who used to send me Spotify links during meetings and laugh at my dumb jokes. This version was curated, perfected, like an Instagram reel on loop. After the dinner, she made a show of being tired. Said she had early meetings and was going to catch an Uber. I offered to drive her. She declined. "Just stay and enjoy yourself," she said, kissing my cheek like it meant something. "I'll see you at home." But I didn't enjoy myself. I left 10 minutes later. Drove home in silence. Didn't turn on the radio. Didn't check my phone. Just sat in that emptiness, replaying every moment from the past 3 months with fresh eyes. And this is the part that messes with me the most. I wanted to believe her. I really did. It would have been easier to think I'd misunderstood, that it was some weird clerical error, that I was projecting insecurities or overreacting, that maybe I was the problem. But my gut knew. That receipt wasn't random. And the way she brushed it off, the speed of it, that wasn't panic. That was practice. She'd been caught before. Maybe not by me, but by someone. That night, I sat on the edge of our bed while she slept next to me. Peacefully, like nothing had happened. I stared at the wall and thought, this is the beginning of the end. And the scariest part? She didn't even know it yet. Funny how the mind works when it's been betrayed. You don't just remember things, you re-experience them. Not like flipping through a photo album, but like walking back into rooms you didn't know were crime scenes. After the hotel receipt incident, I couldn't sleep. My body would lay still, but my mind kept circling the drain. I'd close my eyes and get ambushed by memories that suddenly didn't feel innocent anymore. I started asking myself questions I didn't know I was allowed to ask. And once I let myself start asking, everything came rushing in. The calendar was the first crack in the foundation. Harper and I used to sync our schedules. Nothing dramatic, just little things like dinner with friends or Ethan's work thing at 7. It helped us stay on the same page. But around late June, she disabled sharing. Just a casual, "Oh, I'm cleaning things up. It's cluttered." I didn't push back. I trusted her. I'd known her for 5 years. Married for 3. You don't question every move your partner makes. Until they give you a reason to. Then came the do not disturb setting. Every night, like clockwork, her phone went into lockdown. The screen would dim, notifications off, and it never left her side. Bathroom, shower, backyard, didn't matter. She kept that thing closer than she kept me. I remember laughing once and saying, "You guard that phone like it's a nuclear launch code." She smiled but didn't answer. That silence aged poorly. Around that same time, she suddenly became invested in herself. I know that sounds dumb, but it was different. New dresses showed up at the house in sleek white garment bags. Designer names I'd only seen in magazines. Louboutin heels. $1,000 clutch. She said they were gifts from a new client brand she was helping launch. Perks of PR. She winked. Except she never wore those things with me. They stayed wrapped in tissue paper in the back of the closet like secret P***ns waiting for a different war. She also joined a boutique fitness club across town. Harper had always rolled her eyes at the idea of gyms. "Why would I pay to sweat with strangers when I can walk outside?" she used to say. But suddenly she was all about reformer Pilates, infrared saunas, and green juice that smelled like lawn clippings. The studio had no guest policy and required biometric key fob entry. I only know that because I looked it up later. When I asked about it, she brushed me off. "Work perks," she said again. Work was always the shield. And I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. But my gut kept saying, something's not adding up. Then there were the business trips. I put that in air quotes now because in hindsight, most of them were smoke and mirrors. She started taking these sudden, last-minute team offsites to places like Sarasota, Naples, even Savannah once. Always a Friday to Monday. Always limited service, spotty Wi-Fi, don't wait up. And yet, when I checked her company's social media, nothing. No posts, no hashtags, no stories. Not even a LinkedIn update. That's when I started noticing smaller things. Her toll pass, for instance. We share a digital account. She forgot I still had login access. One Monday I checked out of curiosity. Thought maybe I'd see charges for the trip to Naples she told me about. Instead, Sunday morning charges on the turnpike. Headed toward Coral Gables. That's nowhere near Naples. But it is near Cole's neighborhood. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe she took a different route. Maybe she stopped for coffee. I gave her the benefit of every doubt. Until I saw it again. And again. Repeated tolls always on the weekends. Always around the same area. Always after some company offsite. Once is an accident. Twice is coincidence. 3 times? That's a pattern. But I still didn't say anything. I kept waiting for something undeniable. It came in the form of a JPEG. Harper does charity work, mostly PR for nonprofit galas. She'd gone to one in Tampa, a black tie thing with a silent auction. She sent me a photo someone had posted of her standing with 2 clients near a step and repeat banner. She looked stunning. Black dress, hair curled. That same $1,000 clutch. I remember staring at the picture and feeling proud of her. Then I saved the image to my desktop. I don't even know why I did it. Habit maybe. But when I checked the photos file info, the metadata, it listed the location as Orlando. I refreshed the file. Opened it on my phone. Same result. She wasn't in Tampa. She hadn't even been in the same zip code. When I brought it up later, casually, she said she must have mislabeled it when she posted. You know tech, she joked. Always glitching. But I knew that wasn't a glitch. That was a lie. A small one, but one that didn't need to exist unless it was covering something bigger. Kept happening. Her explanations grew more mechanical. Her smiles looked practiced. She said babe more than she ever had before. Started kissing me goodbye in the mornings like she was trying to meet a quota. One night, I passed by her home office. Her laptop screen was glowing. I saw an email open, just a quick flash before she closed the lid. I only caught a line. Let's not do the same place twice. I asked who she was emailing. Oh, just planning some events with marketing, right? Let's not do the same place twice. Innocent words, maybe, but when you've already got a stomach full of suspicion, even a whisper feels like a scream. The thing about hindsight is it turns every random moment into evidence. I remembered how she stopped letting me do her laundry, said she wanted to separate the delicate stuff. I remembered how she started showering twice a day, even when she didn't leave the house. I remembered her sudden interest in perfume. New bottles with names I couldn't pronounce, lined up like trophies on her vanity. And more than anything, I remembered the way her tone changed when I asked innocent questions. She used to laugh when I got curious. Now she bristled, defended, accused me of being distant. You've been so cold lately, she said once. What's going on with you? That's when I realized something chilling. She wasn't just hiding from me. She was building a narrative. A version of the story where I was the one who changed, where I pulled away first. So when the truth came out, if it ever did, she'd already have the script ready. I wasn't going crazy. I wasn't imagining things. I was watching someone rehearse the fallout in advance. At a certain point, suspicion stops whispering and starts screaming. You can either plug your ears and pretend not to hear it, or you face the noise head-on. I chose the latter. After weeks of second-guessing myself, obsessing over half-truths and deflections, I needed one thing: confirmation. Not just for closure, no. I needed to know that I wasn't insane, that my gut wasn't lying to me, that all the dots I'd been quietly connecting weren't the product of paranoia, but reality. I wasn't going to confront her without proof. I knew Harper too well. She'd spin it, deflect, cry if she had to. I needed evidence that couldn't be argued with, edited, or explained away. So I got smart. One afternoon while she was in the shower, I grabbed her spare key fob, the one she kept for emergencies, and placed a GPS tracker inside. I'd ordered it online, something discreet, barely the size of a flash drive. Synced it to my phone. Tucked it back in the small bowl by the door where it had always lived. She never noticed. I didn't have to wait long. That Thursday, she said she had a client dinner. Last minute, of course. "It's a working meal," she said, brushing mascara on in the mirror. "Super boring. Don't wait up." She wore a black dress I'd never seen before. Simple, elegant, and dangerously form-fitting. Her perfume hit me first, then the heels. I asked her where the dinner was. She rattled off the name of a steakhouse downtown, then kissed my cheek like she was heading off to war. As soon as the door closed, I opened the tracker app on my phone and watched the dot drift. Not downtown. She didn't take the expressway. She didn't head toward the waterfront. She cut east, through Wynwood, where the streets are lined with murals and converted warehouses turned into lofts. That wasn't a dinner meeting. I waited until she parked. The location pinged at a dead-end street near a craft brewery and a stretch of industrial buildings. I grabbed my keys and drove. My hands were shaking the whole time. I don't know if it was anger or adrenaline, but it felt like every traffic light was a personal insult. I wasn't ready to see what I thought I was going to see, but I needed to. I parked half a block away, far enough not to be noticed. The warehouse had been redone. Modern exterior, matte black windows, tall curtains pulled to the side. One of those live-work spaces people romanticize in startup blogs. I stood across the street, half hidden by a parked food truck, heart hammering in my chest. Then I saw them. Through the wide second-floor window, Harper and Cole. No laptops, no notebooks, no plates or glasses. Just them, sitting side by side on a velvet couch like they'd done it 100 times before. Her leg was tucked under her, body angled toward him, his hand on the back of the couch behind her. They were talking, but they didn't need words. She laughed, head thrown back in that effortless, performative way I used to think was beautiful. He said something, leaned in, and then they kissed. Not a nervous, first-time kiss. No hesitation. It was slow, intentional, familiar. His hand moved to her waist. She didn't flinch. I backed up like I'd been punched. My feet stumbled over uneven pavement. I felt cold despite the heat, like my skin didn't belong to me anymore. I didn't confront them. I didn't knock on the door or shout into the night like I wanted to. What would that have accomplished? Nothing. I would have been cast as the crazy husband. They would have twisted it, turned me into a jealous caricature, too fragile to handle his wife's career growth. So I stood there, invisible, watching the final thread of my marriage snap in silence. After a few minutes, I turned and left, got back in my car, stared at the steering wheel. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, numb, until the window fogged up and I couldn't see anything anymore. I drove home with the kind of quiet rage that doesn't shake or yell, the kind that freezes you into clarity. There it was, the truth, undeniable, unedited, real. The woman I married was in another man's loft, kissing him like I hadn't existed for months. And not just any man, her boss. The one she swore was happily married, and like a mentor. The one she told me not to worry about. It hit me all at once. The dress, the receipt, the trips, the secrecy, the sudden distance. All of it lined up perfectly now, like dominoes crashing in slow motion. And I felt something I hadn't expected. Relief. Not because it didn't hurt. God, it hurt. But because now I didn't have to wonder anymore. I didn't have to question every text message or justify every strange excuse. I didn't have to guess. I knew. When I got home, the house felt like a stranger's. I walked through the rooms like I was trespassing. Our photos on the wall looked fake, like props from a play. I sat on the edge of our bed, stared at the spot she slept in, and felt nothing but silence pressing in from all sides. She came home around 11:30, said the dinner ran late, complained about parking, kissed me on the head like nothing had happened. Her lipstick was perfect. I stared at her as she talked. Every word was another cut I didn't flinch at. I asked how the steakhouse was. She said good, then meh, then couldn't remember what she ordered. Lying always leaves gaps. And once you know where to look, you see them everywhere. She slipped out of her heels and headed to the bathroom, humming some random tune. I watched her reflection in the hallway mirror. She caught me looking and smiled. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Just tired." She nodded and shut the door behind her. The water started running. I sat in the dark, holding my phone in my hand, staring at the glowing that marked her exact location just an hour ago. There was no going back now. I wasn't guessing anymore. I wasn't suspicious. I was certain. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I couldn't, but because I didn't want to. The air in our bedroom felt too still, like the room knew something was ending but hadn't figured out how to say it. Harper fell asleep quickly. I could tell by the rhythm of her breath, steady and slow, like nothing had changed. But something had changed. Me. Certainty does that to a man. It silences the questions and replaces them with action. No more guessing. No more hoping I was wrong. No more playing along with her charade. From that moment forward, I made a quiet promise to myself. If she could build a double life behind my back, I would build something of my own, in front of her, in plain sight, and she'd never see it coming. But I wasn't going to scream, break plates, or storm out into the night. I was going to document. Started small. I pulled out an old laptop I hadn't touched in a year. No linked accounts, no shared access. I set up encrypted backups and folders, each labeled with a code only I would recognize. Then I took a notebook from the closet, something simple and discreet, and began jotting down dates, times, anything I could verify or cross-reference later. Friday, August 11th. Claimed Key Largo Retreat. Location: Clearwater Grand, Suite 18B. Confirmed. I wasn't going to give her the chance to gaslight me. Every lie needed a receipt. Every excuse a counterpoint. She wanted to play fantasy? I ground it in fact. I went through our Wi-Fi router next. Most people forget this, but smart routers track device connections and timestamps. I exported logs for every weekend she claimed to be out of town. Her phone and laptop never disconnected from the home network when she said she was away, meaning she'd been nearby. Or worse, just gone for show using someone else's hotspot. Then came the smart lock. We installed a keyless entry system 2 years ago, her idea. It logged every entry and exit. Through the app's admin access, I pulled historical logs and synced them to a spreadsheet. The results were telling. She'd claimed to be in Naples on July 14th through the 16th. Her code was used at our front door on the 15th, 11:47 p.m. and again at 6:03 a.m. the next morning. Naples is 4 hours away. Do the math. I saved everything. *TS. PDFs. Copies of shared calendars and their sudden redactions. Every missing meeting invite. Every client dinner that somehow didn't match her company's public schedule. I began requesting duplicate hotel receipts through loyalty programs. She'd forgotten that I had access to her travel account from when I used to help her book flights. Most damning? A statement from a boutique hotel in Coconut Grove. 2 guests, late checkout, champagne room service. The name attached to the second guest? C. Whitmore, Cole. I didn't lose it. I just stared at it. Then saved it in a new folder labeled Primary Evidence. Still, I said nothing. I greeted her each morning with a kiss. Cooked breakfast like always. I asked about her day, gave her space, laughed at the right cues. If she noticed any change in me, she didn't say. She was too wrapped up in the performance. That made it easier. One day while she was at her fitness club, I installed a silent screen recording app on our shared desktop. She rarely used it, but when she did, it was usually to upload files to work portals or check email. I wasn't looking for explicit content. I was looking for patterns, logins, file names, cross-activity with other platforms. Sure enough, I found a folder labeled Private Docs. Buried inside, *TS of event confirmations, seat assignments, even a hotel booking tied to a corporate card under Cole's name. I backed them all up. I kept my digital footprint invisible: VPNs, incognito sessions, burner cloud accounts. I wasn't about to let sloppy paranoia ruin the edge I now had. I wasn't just a betrayed husband anymore. I was building a case. Because here's what most people don't realize. Harper and I had a prenup. When we got married, we were both working professionals with assets. Her firm insisted on it to protect their shares. The clause that seemed ridiculous back then, like a formality, was now the sword hanging over her head. Infidelity voids equitable distribution. It was one sentence. Clean. Legally binding. At the time, we laughed about it. Called it just paperwork. But now, it was leverage. I called a friend, one of the few I trusted enough not to ask questions. Asked if he knew any family law attorneys who worked discreetly. He gave me a name. I booked a consultation under a pseudonym. The lawyer, sharp, calm, listened quietly as I laid it out. "How strong is your documentation?" he asked. "Verified metadata, hotel logs, digital receipts, security system entries, GPS history, Wi-Fi logs." He nodded slowly. "That's more than enough, especially with the clause." I didn't feel triumphant. I felt confirmed. This wasn't vengeance. It was protection. I wasn't trying to burn her down. I was trying to keep myself from getting buried in the fallout she created. That night, I began the financial prep. I routed my direct deposit to a new account. Froze our joint savings under preemptive fraud flags. Legally sound. No accusations necessary, just precautionary. I set up alerts on all cards in case of sudden spending spikes. I pulled credit reports and made note of every shared liability. Anything she could *p*****, I flagged. Anything I didn't need her to access anymore, I removed. I wasn't taking revenge. I was taking back control. One thing I learned. When betrayal happens, it doesn't hit all at once. It drips. Subtle. Slow. 1,000 paper cuts. You don't bleed out because of one gash. You bleed because you didn't stop the first slice. I didn't blame myself for missing it. I blamed myself for not listening to the gut punches when they started. The quiet moments hurt the most. The way she hummed in the kitchen. The texts she sent with hearts and "I love you"s. The sleepy smiles. The small talk. All of it felt retroactively hollow. She was pretending to be my wife while actively investing in someone else. And somehow she thought I didn't know. That made everything easier. I started photographing everything. Our possessions. Furniture. Jewelry. I compiled an asset report in a password-protected file. Estimated values, receipts, provenance. I knew which items she'd fight for, which ones mattered to her more than they should. I wasn't going to lose ground because of sentimentality. She still kissed me goodnight. I still kissed her back. Not because I believed in us, but because I wanted her to believe I still did. I needed time, not to recover, but to finish this right. Because when it was over, I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to collapse in front of her. I was going to stand, prepared, unshaken, ready. By the time I walked into my lawyer's office the second time, I wasn't nervous. I wasn't second-guessing. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was ready. I laid everything out like a blueprint, a digital archive of deceit. Screen recordings, location logs, receipts, metadata, timestamps. Everything I had spent weeks collecting was now alphabetized and cross-referenced in folders labeled like evidence in a criminal case. The lawyer, Briggs, clean-cut, mid-40s, unfazed by human wreckage, sat across from me, clicking through each file with the detached curiosity of someone who'd seen far worse. I wasn't his first case involving infidelity, but even he raised an eyebrow halfway through the folder marked calendar discrepancies. "You could teach a class," he said. I nodded. "I don't want drama. I want efficiency." He leaned back. "You'll get it. The clause is airtight." Our prenuptial agreement had a fidelity provision that negated spousal claims to shared equity if either party engaged in undisclosed extramarital conduct. Sounded cold. But in moments like this, it was a fireproof door in a burning house. "Assuming she doesn't contest, this'll be clean," Briggs continued. "The evidence removes ambiguity. If she pushes back, it only weakens her." "She will," I said. "She doesn't think I know anything." He nodded once. "Good. The element of surprise is valuable." That same day, we filed the preliminary paperwork to secure a financial partition. Florida doesn't require you to scream divorce out loud to act like it's happening. So we took the back door. First step: freeze all joint accounts. I filed formal notices with both banks citing suspicious financial activity requiring interim asset protection. It wasn't a lie. It was just intentionally understated. Next, I rerouted my salary to a new individual account, one she had no visibility into. That included automatic deposits, bonuses, equity disbursements. I made sure she couldn't use my income to float her escapism anymore. Then came the credit card alerts. She'd already started spending more freely: new shoes, weekend gas station charges in areas she supposedly never visited, 2 Uber rides that began near her boss's building. I flagged everything. The banks responded instantly. "We're here to help," they said. "Your account security is our priority." I didn't feel vindicated. I felt armed. I also froze our line of credit and pulled our home equity report. Harper had access to both. And if she sensed the walls closing in, I wouldn't put it past her to draw from the well won last time before walking away. That option was now gone. Meanwhile, Briggs filed a motion to transfer home ownership into a revocable trust under my legal control. It wasn't about kicking her out. Yet, it was about placing a protective glass wall between her and the asset that meant the most to both of us: the house. Ironically, she was the one who once said, "This house is the only place I feel grounded." At the time, I thought it was romantic. Now I realized it was just another tether she never planned to cut unless forced. She wouldn't see it coming. When the time came, I wouldn't need to shout or throw her stuff on the lawn. The deed would already be rewritten. The locks already changed. Legally. The next step was transparency, just not the kind she expected. Briggs helped me draft a compliance document addressed to her company's internal oversight office. It wasn't a personal complaint. It was a formal disclosure. An employee, Harper, engaged in an undisclosed relationship with her superior, Cole, while representing the company at off-site events with financial and reputational implications. We didn't accuse. We presented. Date-stamped hotel receipts that overlapped with client retreats. Location logs that contradicted expense reports. Email snippets suggesting off-the-record engagements between the two. The language we used was professional, precise, and hauntingly neutral. This disclosure is provided in the interest of internal transparency and ethical clarity. That was the line that would eventually crack everything open. Because even if her company chose not to act immediately, the information would float, slowly, subtly, through the hallways. HR would talk. Legal would review. And Cole? His entire structure of plausible deniability would start to collapse under the weight of documented patterns. When Harper found out, it wouldn't come from me. It would come from the same place she used to brag about: her job. Her perfect job. The one thing she used to say made her feel alive. I backed everything up 3 times. Once on a physical hard drive stored in a fireproof box at a trusted friend's house. Once on a secure cloud drive accessible only via biometric login. And once in a hidden, offline-only archive that no one could access without my say-so. I left nothing to chance. Meanwhile, I maintained the illusion at home. We still had dinner. We still watched the occasional Netflix show on the couch. Her head on my shoulder, my eyes scanning her face for anything that felt real. She'd talk about work. She'd mention Cole. Casually. Carefully. "He's just under a lot of pressure right now," she said one night, swirling her wine. "People keep expecting him to be this perfect leader." I nodded. "That's a tough position." She sighed. "He really trusts me." I almost smiled. "So do I." I wanted to say, "That's why this will hit harder." I wasn't playing games. I wasn't being vindictive. I was simply setting the chessboard. She thought we were still in the early rounds. She had no idea I was 2 moves from checkmate. The hardest part was maintaining stillness while everything in me wanted to act. But acting too soon meant she'd recover. She'd spin. She'd paint herself as confused, or impulsive, or emotionally neglected. I needed to make sure none of that mattered. So I waited, carefully, patiently. like someone waiting for the right signal to detonate a building they once helped construct. Because once it falls, you don't get to rebuild. You only get to walk away. At a sunny Brickell cookout, the folder leaked. Phones buzzed, conversations froze. Harper's charm slipped fast as coworkers whispered, then walked away. Cole's name spread like wildfire. Within the hour, she stood alone, eyes darting for allies that had already vanished. The image she worked so hard to polish? Gone in minutes. No one defended her. No one even looked at her. The truth had arrived, digitally, quietly, and without mercy. That night, Harper came home to changed locks, packed bags, and a calm separation notice citing the fidelity clause. No yelling, no begging, just legal clarity. The house? In a trust. Accounts? Frozen. Her name? Removed. I watched her face fall as reality landed. For once, she couldn't spin it. No rescue, no narrative to twist. The deception ended where it started, in silence. And finally, I could breathe again. Not in anger, but in peace.